Wow. And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this rainy Monday, April 28th. It's 1:06 in the afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. And Bridgette, much of the area has picked up about an inch of rain. What did you get in your neck of the woods there?
Probably got about the same at an inch, but that looks like that on the radar, that system is wrapping back around, so there's more to come from the looks of it.
Yeah, there is. In fact, we do have some more rain on radar. The steadiest rain stretching from Jamestown to just north of Grand Forks into far northwest Minnesota. And winds are really starting to ramp up on the backside of the system. We're getting wind gusts approaching 60 miles an hour right now out around the Jamestown area with some moderate rainfall. We're getting thunderstorms on radar now, starting to pop up from Detroit Lakes eastward towards Grand Rapids and southward as well. In fact, if you have any travel plans going south into Minnesota, there is a tornado watch south of Alex, stretching down towards St. Cloud and into areas of northwestern Iowa. That will more than likely be expanded towards the Twin Cities. So again, if you have any travel plans going down 94 towards the cities, they are expecting the potential of a tornado outbreak between about 3:30 and 8 o'clock tonight down to our south. Now, we will see the back edge of this rain system move into the area as we head into, it looks like, the evening hours. Now, we're not expecting a lot of heavy rain additionally from this, but we will see some more scattered showers redeveloping as we head towards the late afternoon. Now, the winds are really going to ramp up. We do have a wind advisory from the valley westward. And as I said earlier, wind gusts out around Jamestown approaching 60 miles an hour. We'll see 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts up and down the valley here as we head towards evening. So keep that in mind with those showers redeveloping across the area. And temperatures will slide off into the 40s as we head towards evening. So it's going to be a raw evening with scattered showers and strong winds and temperatures in the 40s. And then tonight we'll see those showers come to an end. We'll clear things out. Additional rainfall across the FM area, about a quarter to a half inch. Heavier amounts to our north and west. Again, with that area from Jamestown to north of Grand Forks, those areas could pick up an additional half inch to inch before all is said and done. And then as we head into tonight, again, clearing skies after midnight down into the upper 20s, so we're still not done with that frost freeze threshold yet. And then much more mellow for Tuesday. Sunny skies, lighter winds out of the northwest, highs in the mid-50s. And then we'll see a few showers come in Wednesday night into Thursday morning with temperatures in the 60s on Wednesday, 50s on Thursday. The best news of this forecast, Bridgette, is the upcoming weekend, because it looks like we'll have temperatures in the 70s and 80s across the state on Saturday and Sunday. So that'll start to dry things out for areas that did get the heavy rain. And I know, most of the area needed rain. I know there's some farmers that, all right, it's, we're fine. But I think for most of us, this is some much needed rainfall across the area.
Really depends on where you're at. Yesterday I had an opportunity to talk to a number of farmers. They would tell you that things were working pretty good. There's a lot of crop in the ground. American Crystal reports 25% of our acres are currently planted. We also know that a lot of our small grains is in, not our field, because it is in an area with heavy Fargo clay. So that's not going to get planted now with this rainfall until we have quite a bit of time to dry out. We needed 2 days of sunshine, and we just didn't get it prior to this. Corn, soybeans are already planted. I don't think we have a percentage statewide yet, but in some areas, there's some corn that for particular farms, they're completely done. They're all in. So, and Dean, who is your live weather report?
Well, that is brought. Yes, it is just. I just got your message, Bridgette. Sorry, it is brought to you by Progressive Ag Risk Management Specialist today. So, I want to thank them as well. And as I said, there's a little. Although we're seeing a lull in the action right now, we will see more precip on the backside of the system as we head towards mid to late afternoon. So don't think we're done just yet. But boy, it's going to feel raw this evening. So hopefully you brought your jacket to work. It felt nice this morning. Man, it was mid-50s, a little humid. It felt great. It felt great.
All you gym shorts wearers, put your long pants back on for a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, with the heavy rain we've been having, North Dakota Highway Patrol reminds people to slow down. There have been several incidents of jackknife semis, rollovers in the area. It's not like it's icy, you guys, but folks are having a little trouble navigating the roads with some heavy rainfall going on from time to time.
Yeah.
I mentioned, oh, go ahead, Dean.
No, I was just going to say, I've had a couple emails asking, are we done with frost and freezing temperatures? Not quite. Again, we've got tonight. We've got another shot coming in here Thursday night of a good frost potential. I think after Thursday night, so as we round the bend into May, I think we're good. Now, the LRC is projecting potential light frost somewhere between the 10th and the 13th. I wouldn't worry about it. It's not going to be anything widespread, but in terms of freezing temperatures, overnight freezing temperatures, I think this Thursday night, Friday morning should be the last shot of freezing temperatures around here. So that should put a lot of minds to rest about that. And hey, thank goodness this wasn't snow. Just to put it in perspective, an inch of rain, typically it's about a 10-to-1 ratio. So we'd be looking at about 10 inches of snow, with some areas a little bit more than that. And now with the 40 to 50 mile an hour winds coming in this afternoon, this would have been a full-fledged blizzard across the area. So, and that's not unheard of for the end of April. So again, just trying to look at the positive side of things. It could be a lot worse.
You're not even close to have end of the April blizzards like that. I mentioned having a chance to talk to a number of farmers yesterday. I got to do that. Thank you to the Enderlin FFA. They invited me to come on down to their banquet last night. Congratulations to those students who walked away with awards as top fruit salesman, chapter star farmer. Several of them were recognized for going to Washington Leadership Conference this upcoming summer. They had a labor auction, which means they auctioned off their officer team for those students to go out and work for area farmers, homeowners, businesses in order to do work for them in a 3 or 5 hour time frame, and then that money goes to the FFA chapter. They're launching a new alumni chapter. Whether you are FFA or just in the area and want to be a part of it, Enderlin welcomes you to their new alumni chapter. And I got to see one of our previous assistant ag directors, and that was Jocelyn Berkland. And then we also have an incoming assistant ag director. That'll be Haley McLeod. She'll be joining us in May. So thanks to those students for inviting me to come down. The steak supper was excellent. Much appreciated to everyone. And had a number of listeners who stopped and said, hey, we listen to you guys on a daily basis. We appreciate that. One gentleman did ask me, he didn't get to see the LRC special. And I said, okay, here's what you need to know. We do the LRC special on Jay Thomas's show, which is 2 to 5 p.m. on this same station after our show. Jay's show isn't always live streamed, but we did that day. And so you would not look for it under Weather and Ag in Focus like you normally do. You would find it under Jay's show if you're looking for that live stream. One other thing is that audio is always available on our website under the podcast logo. So if you wanted to go find that, you would go to our website, WDAY-radionewsnow.com, and you would find Jay's show, and that date was April the 2nd was when we did that LRC special. So if you missed it and you want to go back and hear the recap, you certainly could.
Right. And we do have the graphics online, WDAY-radionow.com on our website. We have the graphics for May through August to show exactly kind of the peaks in precip, the valleys, and the drier times and whatnot as well. So you could find a little bit of a recap there as well.
Absolutely. So don't forget to watch our show on Weather and Ag in Focus at WDAY's Facebook page. You can find us on our own page as well as YouTube, and then we're on Acres TV. And you can call in today, 701-293-9000. And you can send us emails, ag or weather at flagfamily.com. We are happily checking those. And that phone number again is the JLA Insurance phone line of 701-293-9000. I mentioned 2 students from Enderlin FFA have been and will be my assistant ag director for a day. Don't forget, I'm still going to take applications throughout the summer. If you are a student or if you have a student, sophomore in high school to sophomore in college, who's interested in spending a day at the station with us, we'd love to have you do that. You get to see the background of what happens in radio. We talk through the questions and guests that will be coming up on the show and get you fully prepared to be a big part of the show. Some of that's going to happen this week. Tomorrow, we're going to be joined in studio by students from the Northern Cass High School. They are practicing their public service announcement, writing stories. This is a creative writing class. So I'm excited to see what they bring with them tomorrow when they tour the studio and join us on air. And Wednesday, I'll be live for the show from Beulah High School in Beulah, North Dakota. We have a ag communications class of 5 students who have all written stories for us to talk about and be part of our show. So we have a lot of student interaction this week. Yeah, nice to do as we get closer to the end of the school year for many area school districts.
That's
we appreciate
great.
that.
It's a great experience for the kids too, you know?
It really, really is. And they do a fabulous job. As a listener told me last night at the banquet, you haven't had one that stumbled yet. And you know what? I don't think we will. They're pretty sharp and well prepared.
No, well, they have a good teacher. That's why.
They're coming with a great background, and it's easy to build on that, right? Many of them have already been participating in public speaking or livestock judging or any other competitions through 4-H and FFA, and that really gives them a leg up in what they do with us. So get those applications in, folks. I don't want to leave anybody behind who certainly wants to participate. Well, when we return, it is our cybersecurity superhero joining us today. That's Chris Sherman with Tech Support Farm. Chris will be here live in studio. We've got a whole list to discuss with him, and we'll do that after the American Ag Network markets. We'll be back. Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. And we often say that technology on your farm should be smooth. It shouldn't give you all sorts of hiccups, cause you problems, and Lord knows none of us wants to get hacked. Well, if in fact something like that should happen, we have the guy for you. He's our cybersecurity superhero. That would be Chris Sherman with Tech Support Farm. Chris is in studio today. Chris, how are you?
I am pretty good. How are you, Bridgette?
Excellent. So you were kind enough to give us some bullet points and so forth to talk about. And this is a conversation that you and I have had to talk about a little bit as well when it comes to personal emails and some of the security risks that. Can we start with that and just give us some background? Because most all of us have that really easy Gmail account or Outlook. There's even a few AOLs hanging around out
Yes.
there.
That's still around?
You have no idea. Yeah, the AOL keeps cropping up.
Oh, man.
Yeah, people hang on to it for
Tell us more.
nostalgia.
I guess.
Yeah, no, the problem that we're running into, especially like right now, one of the biggest issues that we're seeing is that guys are using their personal email addresses, whether it's a Gmail or a Yahoo or AOL or whatever it is, and they're using that for their business purposes. And what people don't realize is that there's a number of really high security risk issues. Number one, those emails are not encrypted. There's no end-to-end encryption on the emails, so they can be intercepted, and the information that's inside of those emails can actually be extracted. And so let's say you're emailing your bank, or you're emailing your insurance agent, or FSA, or whatever the case may be. That email can be intercepted halfway through transit. The information can be pulled off of it, and then it continues on to its final destination. But the problem is that for those types of emails, whether it's Gmail or Yahoo or whatever it is, those emails, because they're personal email addresses, there is no end-to-end encryption on them. The second issue that we see is that those emails, there's no ability for us to filter the incoming email that's coming in. So when you're getting spoofed or spammed or anything like that, we are rendered pretty powerless in order to protect you from those types of things. So we are really pushing people that they need to get a professional domain for their farm, and then they need to get the email address associated with that. You don't even have to have a website or anything like that associated with that, web address, but you definitely need the commercial email for sure.
Now, Chris, we were talking off air. I've got a friend who works for a university. I won't say where or where she works at, but she was telling me that they were applying, bots were applying for financial aid, and in some universities across the country, getting accepted. So in other words, somebody's hacking these accounts, using their information. Same thing can go on in our ag community, right?
Yeah.
Like if the farmer is applying for some kind of loan, then bam, a bot could do the same thing like a student loan then.
A farmer could, a bot could. The other thing that we see a lot more prevalent is where they will spoof your email. So they get a list of maybe the vendors that you have or the customers that you have, and then they will start spoofing those your email and sending your customers or your vendors emails. And so we see where they say that they're mailing out invoices on using your name and trying to collect the funds that way.
And I've gotten spoof emails. I just delete them. What's your recommendation? Like, I don't know if I should open this or not. Better safe than sorry. Just delete it.
No, I would say don't open it. And whatever you do for please do not click on any links or any PDFs or anything like that. I think we've talked about that in previous episodes. But the one thing that we did was we started an email address. It's fraud@techsupport.farm. And so we encourage anybody, if you have suspicious emails or anything like that, one of the things that we're supposed to do is we file a report on that email, and so that it gets taken down by the appropriate host. So let's say we got to stop picking on Johnson Farms. Let's say you get Spring Valley Farms or whatever, and somebody spoofs it as a Gmail address. It's the responsibility of the individual that's being spoofed to turn that email over and report it as fraudulent and have that email taken down. And so what we do is, just as a service, if you send us that email, we'll take it down for you. We'll report it to the appropriate authorities. So that is my biggest recommendation right there.
Okay.
Okay. I got some questions. So, and I know that I have this. I have a personal Gmail email address, but Chris has advised me I need to make that more of a business address. What's the change? What prevents hackers spoofing all that going from my personal address to a business one? And like you said, I could even do it based on a farm, if
Yeah.
I wanted to be Readel Farm, something like that. What changes?
So it's really the platform that you're receiving your email on. It allows us as a cybersecurity company to put software on the back end that filters your emails coming in and making sure that we're grabbing those phishing attempts before they actually reach your inbox. The other thing is that what a lot of people don't realize is that not only are we worried about the emails coming into your inbox, we are worried about the spoofing attempts and the emails going out of your inbox. And there's this new program. It's called DMARC compliance, and commercial emails have the ability to be set up to become DMARC compliant, and it protects you from spoofing attempts where people are trying to steal your, or pretend to be you or send stuff to your vendors or your customers or whatever. We're allowed or we're able to do that on a commercial account. We can't be doing that on personal, Gmail and Yahoo and that type of stuff.
And Chris, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bridgette.
So one more thing here, when it comes to these personal email accounts, when you said don't click on the links, etc., in them.
Yep.
But for example, if it's tax time and I get an email from my accountant, there's a link in it to an encrypted site for me to click on that, then go upload my tax information. Would you consider that secure?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Well, okay, let me back that 100% down. It is secure. The one thing that I would say is don't forget that, when you look at a link inside of an email, you can hover your mouse over it and it will actually show you where that link is taking you to, right? I think the example that we had used last time was bestbuy.com, and if you hovered over hovered over that link, it showed you that it was not taking you over to Best Buy. And so that is the one thing that I would really preface. The other thing is always be very, very careful before you go downloading or opening attachments. PDFs are the number one method of transferring viruses and spyware and malware and that sort of thing. They're a great way to do that.
And Chris, on average, how much money is lost in terms of identity theft in our ag community each year?
I don't know the number on that, but what I can say is that according to the National Agriculture Law Center, identity theft costs farms an average of $12,000 per incident more than any other type of small business.
Wow!
Just because of the complexities of it. Yeah.
And farms are less likely to report it than many other businesses.
Because they're embarrassed? Or
partly because they're embarrassed, and partly because where do we even begin to start?
Yeah.
Right. No, most people have no idea that reporting cyber crimes and hacking incidents and where you're supposed to go and who you're supposed to talk to and that sort of thing. It's not a very well known thing, and so it oftentimes just does not get dealt with.
And they probably figure, what's the use? I'm not going to get my money back anyway.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. Wow. Okay. So, Chris, we still have a whole list of bullet points of statistics. We haven't even talked about more deeply into what we can be doing with these domains and emails, but we will do that when we return from our bottom of the hour news. We'll be right back. Welcome to our soggy Monday afternoon, but spirits are bright as we try to make sure to protect your cybersecurity with our cyber superhero, and that is Chris Sherman with Tech Support Farm. So, want to make sure folks know that we have not yet planted our wheat for our Here We Grow project, only because it hadn't dried out yet. We needed some sunshine that didn't happen, but we'll get there very soon after this rainfall. Two of our sponsors for Here We Grow this year would be ND Estate Services, where it is their job to take that very complicated process and make estate planning simpler for you and your family. They're going to talk you through how to avoid probate, protective guardianship, save on taxes, and so much more. So contact Mark at ndestateservices.com. And Thor Buildings. Thank you to Thor Buildings for joining us. They are post-frame construction. They will meet your needs not only agriculturally, but for livestock as well. They're going to make sure they design your farm building with maximum efficiency. Speaking of maximum efficiency, that's our discussion with Chris Sherman on cybersecurity. Okay, Chris, one of the things I wanted to talk through with you is a statistic you gave us. Farmers routinely submit sensitive data, social security numbers, tax IDs, bank info, land ownership, to a multitude of agencies, USDA, FSA, crop insurance, vendors, banking, and so much more. Can a third party help protect that? And the reason I ask that question is there's a company out there called My Ag Data that will submit your data to USDA and FSA. Is that more secure than you doing it yourself? Should you just plan, no matter what, who you have helping you, get a better email address?
I would say that, quite honestly, I just learned about my ag data, so I would have to research that. The number one thing that I really would preface is that it's not so much the transfer of the data from your farm over to FSA or the federal government or banks or anything like that. It really is a lot more as to where that information goes in the future. Okay, like in 2023, we found out that the USDA, in 2020, the USDA accidentally released thousands and thousands of farmers' information, and that was an accidental oops, and letting it out. The other thing that we know is that there's a lot of other agri inputs, businesses, equipment manufacturers and that sort of thing, that they have unfortunately, put their username and password information for clients in online databases that are accessible by the public. They aren't even, it's not even something that you can't find. You just have to know where to look and where to find it in order to get that information. So that's, your usernames for, different platforms that you use around your farm every single day. We kind of learned a lot about that, a couple months ago, that, the European Union has a cybersecurity task force that has been really working on this, and especially from the ag perspective side. And they've been trying to get their hands around how big is the compromise of data and personally identifying information in the ag industry. And that was one of the key things that we found out, is that it isn't even that your vendors and your manufacturers and that sort of thing are getting hacked and the information is getting stolen, like in breaches, but it's just been accidentally released due to the lack of internal protocols. So the thing is that it's really important to start moving things from being personal to business information. So therefore, there's no personal information attached to it. We don't want to see, we would rather be using, EINs or TINs as opposed to social security numbers, right? Because that's a separate business entity. You'd rather be using a commercial PO box address or, an office address for your farm as opposed to your personal home address. We would rather see, phone numbers, emails, and that sort of thing. All of those need to be business, tied, or information tied back to the business as opposed to the individual. Because too much of this, of the databases that our information is on, are public-facing databases. And unfortunately, it's just due to necessity. And I go back to like the H-2A program. In order for those applicants to apply, they have to know who they're applying to and what farms they're applying to. But unfortunately, when you have that level of PII sitting out there, whether it's the farm's name or the farmer's name, his personal email address, his personal cell number, that sort of thing, you can actually start building a profile off of that. And that's the beginnings of setting him up for identity theft further down the line.
So I'm not sure how many people who are listening pick up a copy of the Prairie Business magazine, but the most recent edition came to my house for April, and that was exactly the article that covers the information Chris is talking about, that as far as farms are concerned, we have to take a business mindset when it comes to cybersecurity, because we are businesses. It's easy to say, oh, I just farm.
Yeah.
But you are running a business. And that information that's being, whether it's accidental release or someone's swiping it out of your emails, is tremendous. Since the beginning of the new year, I've read 2 articles where farm families found out they had equipment loans they didn't know about.
Yeah.
So you could literally have $2 million in equipment loans, just like someone bought a house in your name or someone got a credit card in your name, but now it's in the millions of dollars.
Yeah. The other problem is that with the amount of capital and liquidity that goes through agriculture, it really, really sets us up as a target. It's not, it's not a home-based business anymore or anything like that. We're talking multi-million-dollar businesses, and we're tending to run them like they are home-based businesses, and it sets us up, to be targets for sure.
So, go ahead. I've got another question after you, Dean.
No, okay. Well, Chris, you've got here that 90% of domain impersonation attacks could be stopped by DMARC.
Absolutely.
Explain that a little bit.
Oh, you would ask me to do that. Okay. So DMARC compliance is a very complicated topic. DMARC compliance has to do with any of the emails that are going out from your email address. And what that entails is there's 2 levels of encryption. And the first level, and we're going to be really vague about this. The first level of encryption is basically stating what server your emails are going to be coming from. And so any email or any other email box that you're sending it to will know that it should be coming from this server at this location. And so therefore, if you don't get, or if you receive emails from your entity and they are not from that location, it automatically throws it out as spam and prevents it from showing up in people's inboxes. The best way I can kind of put this together would be like, for instance, you know how we get those spoofed phone calls, and you might see some, a local number, and you find out it's somebody from, somewhere else. The best way to say that is that, any of the calls coming from my phone number will be coming from Verizon, period. So if you ever see it coming from another, telephone company, then automatically it's going to know that it's a spoof call, and it's not going to let it go through. That is the best way I can kind of describe what that level of DMARC is. And the second piece of DMARC compliance is that it will provide encryption on the emails going out regardless of the email. So when your email goes out, it will be fully encrypted, and then the receiver has the key, and it automatically will unlock that email. But it prevents, if the email is ever intercepted in transit, it's just rendered useless. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. And that's, again, where we talk about, whether it's Gmail or Hotmail or Yahoo or whatever you're using, they don't provide that service. That only comes if you've set up your DMARC compliance on a commercial email address. It encrypts all of your emails going out. So if you've got employee information, farm information, banking, sensitive information that you're sending back and forth, that commercial email address, and in parity with a proper setup of DMARC compliance, your emails will now be encrypted going out. The last piece of this is that there's a couple other little variants. There's one where we actually end up using, your logos and stuff like that inside of your business. And so any emails that are spoofed and they don't use the proper logos and that sort of thing will automatically be red flagged. There's like 5 different components to DMARC, but those are the top ones.
Okay.
So small business owner farms, right? Because we are, again,
Yep.
I can't reiterate enough, we are businesses. And you are thinking to yourself, this probably doesn't apply to me. I really don't share that much information online. But it can be as simple as you sell hay to somebody else.
Yep.
Maybe you are selling semen genetics and you're sending invoices. that information could be getting clipped out of your email addresses and being used to spoof someone for payment, correct? That's not coming to
Absolutely.
you.
Yes. Yep. Even if you send an
And
invoice and you have, let's just say you've got your ACH information, or you have,
uh-huh.
any sort of, the thing we don't realize is just how much personally identifying information we're putting out there. We actually have a software that we use that we can stick it on your computer and we can show you all of the personally identifying information, where it's located on your computers, and it's really an eye-opening thing, not only to help you understand the level of risk that's associated with what you've got, but also to help you understand what personally identifying information is, even if it's a list of your employees and their phone numbers. I mean, that right there is
So
information that if that is in your charge, if you accidentally get hacked and that gets taken, that is considered a data breach.
So I love talking to Chris because he makes us aware of these. And then I feel horrified at all the things that I am probably doing wrong that I need to get Chris to fix for me. So, yikes. To that extent, Chris, these are the things that you can do for people. These are some of the
Oh,
services.
absolutely. Yes. And
Where can they?
what we would
Yeah,
suggest
continue.
is, like, it is as simple as, give us a call. We'll help you get a domain set
hmm
up. We'll take care of it for you. We'll register it. We'll hold on to it for you. We'll take care of all of the, the DMARC compliance side of it. We'll take care of the filtering side. We can set you up with your email addresses. We take care of the authentication end of it. It's literally, we drop it in. We set up the forwarding for all of your personal emails to come through so that everything is filtered. We do all the testing to make sure your DMARC is set up properly and all of your outbound emails are done correctly. You don't ever have to worry about, Microsoft billing you every single month and that sort of thing. We take care of all of that. It is literally a seamless and, transaction from start to finish, and we handle all of the back end details for you.
If Chris watches me, he can see every time he says something and I know I'm doing it wrong, he's just going to be like, check, we got to fix that. Check,
Yep.
we got to fix that. Because all the things he says, I'm like, oh, dear Lord. So, Chris, thank you. I don't think we
Absolutely.
can reiterate enough how vital it is, the things that you're sharing with us, and that we've got to get people to look into this and take it seriously.
Yes. This is
Thank you,
definitely
sir.
the year that we are pushing getting corporate emails. Like, this is
Okay.
our number one goal this year, is making sure that firms understand that switching over from personal emails to professional emails is a number one thing. But please also understand that you have to have all the components of a part of that. You have to have the email filtering attached to it, and you have to have the DMARC compliance. Otherwise, it's a tool that you're incorporating, and it doesn't, you're not using it to the fullest extent of its capability.
We have so much work to do.
Yes, indeed.
He's got me
All right,
scared
thanks,
just for
Chris.
my personal account, my personal information, man.
I do business things by email.
Right?
I need to be better. So I will now become the poster child for why Chris said we should do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay,
So
got
the
it.
other thing
All
that I
right.
would also throw out there is that if you are a Google guy, or maybe you prefer Microsoft, corporate emails can go both ways. You can have it set up inside of a Google account. You can have it set up inside of Outlook. Preference is, it's not tied to that. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we'd love to talk to you.
Great. Well,
Thank you.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And when we come back, we will touch on another recap of the weather, go down rain totals, what we've seen so far, that, and a couple ag topics, all that when we come back. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus on this rainy Monday afternoon. And temperatures out there now, what a difference in temperatures. Bridgette, we're looking at temperatures right now in the upper 30s in northwestern part of Cass County. And you go down just south of Wahpeton, and temperatures are right around 70. So you think there's a cold front in there. and,
I know right where that cold front is right now.
Yeah.
Just in case you're wondering. Clear picture of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those winds have really started to ramp up now, gusting close to 40 miles an hour. Temperatures quickly falling off into the 40s and 30s just west of the valley, while, again, hanging out to near 70 south of Wahpeton. So once that cold front hits that warmer weather to the south, we're already seeing thunderstorms and some of those severe stretching from south of Alex down towards Sauk Center and down towards St. Cloud. Those areas are under a tornado watch currently until 8 o'clock tonight. So if you're going south on 94, as you head deeper into the afternoon and get towards the cities, tornadic activity is a pretty decent bet down there. And if not tornadoes, and large hail. While we still have heavy rainfall stretching from Jamestown, just north of Jamestown, up through north of Grand Forks, where just a steady line of moderate to heavy rain has produced 1 3/4 inches of rain from Jamestown up north through about Minto area, just north of Larimore. Those areas are the areas receiving the heavy rain, and some of that rain will kind of collapse back in on the valley as this area of low pressure moves eastward. So although we're seeing a slight break here in the FM area, still some drizzle. Expect those showers to kind of come back into the area as we head towards late afternoon into the evening. And by then, temperatures are going to be in the 30s with a strong north wind at 40. So it's going to be a raw evening. It's not going to feel like the end of April. And yeah, we need the moisture. That's the good news. So we're getting replenished on some of the soil moisture that we've been lacking so far this spring, and carrying over from the winter months as well. So good news there. And again, we're in the wet part of the LRC cycle, and we still have that first up to about the 4th or 5th of May, where, again, we're going to stay in that wet part of the cycle. So we've got one more storm after this one that could bring us some pretty wet weather at the beginning of May. But in between, we've got some really nice weather by the weekend, Bridgette, with temperatures back into the 70s and 80s statewide. And it looks like our last freeze of the season should be later this week before we kind of transition into a more typical spring-like pattern. Not saying we can't get any frost around the 10th of May. LRC was hinting at that. But in terms of any freezing temperatures, this week should be the last week of that.
Oh, we often do get some freezing temps in May. There's rarely a chance that you get away with not having to dash out there and cover up those tender tomato and pepper plants and freshly planted flowers, mind you. Now, something else to keep an eye out for. 80,000 pounds of beef is missing from a Tennessee processing plant. 2 truckloads, which were destined to go to Kentucky and Michigan, were picked up by a subcontracting company that then turned out to be false and could not be verified. So again, 80,000 pounds of beef have been stolen. I'm going to guess it's going to be a little hard to identify unless you know what freezer that landed in, but it is worth $350,000 for this loss. So it's not just rustling what's on the hoof. Now we're rustling what was in the trucks and loaded up and frozen to go. Interesting to watch.
Right. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us today on Weather and Ag in Focus. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.